Eastern time. I don't know that I am actually going, so let me do a little refresh over here and we'll see what we get. I don't know if you guys can hear me. It looks like it's still thinking about trying to get over to signed in. Looks like there we go. Okay, now you should be able to see me. Can y'all hear me? Hello, Judy and Debbie and Claire and Judy. We got a bunch of Judys. Rocky, Marva, Linda, Myra, Renee. Appreciate you coming. I'm sorry it's been a tough day, Rocky. Hopefully this will be fun and you can relax a little bit. Hey, Rosie. Hey, Amy. Hi, Mary. Hi, Carol. Thank you for joining. All right, so here's our card for today. This is what I gave you the sneak peek of this morning. I assume y'all kind of figured out what I was making because it was kind of an obvious hint. But it uses the Winterly Treetops stamp set. I did not use the dies, although there is a very beautiful die set that goes with that cuts out all of these images. And is quite gorgeous, but I did not need it for today. I used the stamp set and the new Birchwood 3D embossing folder. Now I'm going to call this the Birch 3D embossing folder. I typed Birch 3D embossing folder throughout my entire blog post today, and then I went and had to fix it. So it is the Birch Wood, and it is coming shortly to the mini catalog, and you can see it is one of the large ones. This is a regular stamp case, and you can see how much larger this is. So this is actually 6 inches wide by 8.5 inches long. So this is a nice big thing. You can put a lot, really big piece of cardstock in here, which is cool. And then I've used just a smidge of the Nests of Winter DSP. It's a pretty DSP set with organic things like birds and pussy willows and birch trees on one side, and then some geometric patterns like this stripe in garden green on the other. So everything will be on my blog tomorrow, including birch wood, not birch. And so let's go ahead and get going. Oh, and of course I used the Stylish Shapes DSP, or dies. Y'all, I'm not even going to say this again, but if you don't have Stylish Shapes, make that different soon, would you? Okay, great, thanks. Now this is a bit of a case of a card in the catalog because it was cool, but I did add a few things here and a few things there because that's just kind of how I roll. So I have a piece of basic beige cardstock. It's 4 inches by 4 1/4, and I'm going to, no, 4 inches by 5 1/4, I'm so sorry. And I am going to use a basic beige ink to stamp this the 2-bird image twice. I'm going to stamp here and here. Now, when you first stamp this on here, it's going to look quite green, okay? It's not going to end up green. You can see when it dries much more beigey, but when it first stamps, it's a little bit green, and you're going to be like, what? That's not going to work. Hey, Beverly. Yes, Rosie, thank you so much for reminding folks the Decorative Trees card class registration is still open, so you can still get in. Hi, Kathy and Shaz and Angie. Appreciate that. All right. Now, I'm gonna ink this twice. And I'm just going to stamp it once here. See how green that looks? Wait till it dries. It'll be fine. And then we're going to stamp it right there. Like that. Okay? Now I'm going to close this up. And then I am going to go off camera. I'm going to do that twice in this little dooha. And I'm going to emboss this in the Birchwood 3D embossing folder. Just like that, horizontally. You could go vertically because vertical is actually more correct for birch, but I kind of like I liked how it looked horizontal, so that's what I'm doing with it, okay? So I shall be right back in one momento. And this is a 3D embossing folder, so you're going to use the base plate and then the folder with the cardstock and the gray specialty plate. So this is the sandwich. No shim, no acrylic cutting plate, then the embossing folder, and then the number 4 gray specialty plate. If you don't have this number 4 specialty plate, please get it. It makes life so much easier when you are embossing 3D embossing folders. Yes, you can put shims and all sorts of weird things in there, and it'll be fine, but it's so much easier to just use that embossing folder. Okay, So now I am going to adhere this with dimensionals to the front of my basic beige card base. And I'm doing it now because I kind of build off of this construct, okay? So I kind of want this in place. And of course I have the edge piece of the dimensionals sheet, of course. I mean, they're all dimensionals and they all work the same, but for some reason it just annoys me to have to cut that piece. Although it is kind of handy when you want oddball shaped pieces of dimensional. So that's kind of a handy thing to have. Okay, let's see, what have I got? Oh, got some that the backs did not come off when I picked them up. All right, sounds like a few of you have, yay, Mary, I'm glad you are, I saw that you were gonna join us. You were the one who noticed that I was gonna send PayPal invoices, what was it, either the day before or the day after after the class. That was so wrong. I was so wrong for so long. Okay, now I've got those adhered. Every once in a while you'll get a batch of dimensionals where when you pull the dimensional off of the backing, off of this backing, it takes the whole thing with it. And it doesn't do anything to it. It doesn't hurt it. It's just annoying. And so you just pull it off and stick it on. It'll be fine. And no, I do not know which ones it is because it just depends. I've actually gotten one sheet in a pack. Okay, so let's see. We should put this on right side up because if those birds are hanging upside down, there's something very, very wrong with them, I would say. Okay. So you get a nice little bit of tone on tone here with this is fading as we speak, and we have the birch embossing. So birch bark is horizontal in nature? Maybe. Oh, I guess you're right. It is, huh? Okay, well, then I did it right without even meaning to. Okay, so now I have a piece of that Nests of Winter DSP, and you can see it's a bit of a rectangle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a banner end into it, okay? And I'm going to do it I'm going to do a little bit of forcey here. So this is 2 3/4 inches. So half of that is 1 3/8 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler. I could use my grid paper, but then you wouldn't be able to see it very easy. Okay, so I'm going to do it like this. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to mark at the 1 3/8 inch mark, just a little bit. You see, it's like a 1/16 of an inch. You could go 1/4 of an inch if you wanted. Let's do 1/4 inch. There we go. And we're going to mark it 1 3/8. And then I'm just going to make a line from the corner to that mark. And we're going to cut that off so you won't even see it. And then the corner to the mark. You probably can't see the mark, but it's right there. And then I'll take my scissors and just cut on that line. And for those of you who do your envelope flaps the way I do, this is so easy. It's actually easier than an envelope flap because it's straight. Okay? And there we have a banner. Now you could also eyeball it, but that's kind of a long one to do. I can do narrow ones and get it pretty good and be happy with it, but not so much. Okie doke. Here we go. We were having a little fun with that one, weren't we, Mary? Okay, so I'm going to use liquid glue to adhere this to my card base. And I don't know if you can see here, but there's 2 pieces of paper. So we have DSP and then the wood specialty paper. You can see the DSP, the top aligns with the top edge of the card front, and the top of the wood texture paper aligns with the top edge of the card. Okay, so it's a little bit uneven up there, and that was on purpose. All right, so we're going to go right about there. And I want to try to get it as even with it as I can. So I'm going to pick it up so I can look at it. There we go. Okay. Now, on this piece of the wood textured DSP, you can see it's just a little bit narrower. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bow image and I'm going to stamp it twice on here in garden green ink. Now, it's not going to be a perfect impression because this is wood textured, and that's okay. Let it be that way, okay? So we're just going to ink up real good. I'm going to make that straight, and then I'm going to go right about here, like that, and then do it again. And right about there. Does it matter if it's perfect? No. Hey, Carol, appreciate you coming. So there we go. So you get kind of like a partial wreath, right? Kind of a partial wreath, as it were. Okay. Let me put this away. I've got too much stuff out on my table right now. Yep, I'm overly prepared. Overly prepared. Okay, so let's take some dimensionals. Here we go again with the dimensional edges. I'm going to have to cut. There's just no way around it. I'm going to have to cut. All right, here we go. But this is, the edge is handy. It's all dimensional, so don't be wasting it. That would be silly. That would be so silly. We don't want you to be silly. Speaking of silly, that silly dog of mine, he has been moving dinner up by 10 minutes every day. So the first day, he usually eats about 4 o'clock. And, about a week ago, he showed up at my chair at like 3:45. So I held him off and I held him off, but then his dad came in. And his dad came in and fed him early. Okay, whatever. He's pretty good. You would think that he would then be like, okay, now I'm hungry. It would be like me. If I ate dinner at 4 or 3:30, I'd be hungry again before I could go to bed. Not him. He's just like, okay, I'm done eating. Where in the world is my card front? Does anybody know? I'm embarrassed. Please ignore me. Anyway, so he eats a little bit early that day. Next day, he shows up at like 3:30. So we put him on. Well, his dad fed him at 3:40. So now we're 10 minutes early. So today he shows up at the chair at 10 after 3. And he comes to me and I'm like, no, we're not eating at 3. That's just not happening. So he moves 2 feet to the right and he stares deeply into his father's eyes. And Wayne held out for like 15 minutes. Fed him at 3:30. He's kind of a sucker. I'm just saying. Okay, so my goal here is to adhere that so that this top edge aligns pretty close with the top edge of the card base and kind of centered on that banner. Okay, so that's what I'm aiming for. We'll see how close I get. There we go. Yes, Bob, I will take that for 1,000. Looks pretty good. Okay, so good. All right, now we have some beautiful new linen thread. It's called Natural Tones Linen Thread. It's part of this suite, which is awesome. And now I am going to make what I would call a half double loop linen thread bow. You can't really call it a loop linen thread bow because that doesn't sound right, but that's really kind of what it is. All I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this 4 times around 4 fingers, and that's all. I'm not going to have the inside loops. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if I was making a real double loop linen thread bow, I would then go 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm not going to do that. Okay? So forget I did that. Don't do that. Go 4 times around 4 fingers and pull your loops off and go ahead and cut your linen thread. All right? And then just like with a double loop linen thread bow, you're going to turn it, twist it to make a figure 8, and then grab it with your tweezers. Okay. There we go. And then we'll take another little piece and tie a double overhand knot. Okay, so one overhand, two overhands, so that we can secure it in place. And that gives us the room to kind of play with it a little bit, right? We want to play with it. This is not quite like Farrah Fawcett's hair because she had way more of it, but it's definitely tousled. It's more like my hair when I get out of the bed in the morning. Like, it's just going everywhere. A little bit thin, a little bit wispy, a little bit straggly, but we want it to look like it was Farrah's hair. Not quite so much. Okay, and then we're going to adhere it like right there with a glue dot. With a glue dot. A glue dot. All right. I keep losing things, and I know they're right in front of me. Here it is. I hate when that happens. Does that happen to you guys? Surely it's not just me. It can't just be me. So I'm putting a glue dot right there, and then I'm going to adhere this bow like so. And then we'll set it aside, and we will make us a sentimente. So I have a piece of pecan pie cardstock, and I'm going to give it a little rub-a-dub with my embossing buddy. We'll get our embossing powder out. I know, it's terrible. I always say it's a good thing it's not a snake, but I know that scares Amy, so I don't like to say that when I know she's on. Okay, so I'm going to stamp Thinking of You Always. I really like this sentiment. I'm going to stamp it in Versamark ink. Now, Versamark is kind of a sticky ink. That's its point. But I do kind of like to clean off my stamp pretty quickly. I'll leave regular ink on until I'm done with my card, but I like to get the Versamark off. And then I'm going to take my white and sprinkle it, tap it off, do another little sprinkle to get a good coverage. Make sure I've gotten embossing powder everywhere. That's always important. And we'll cover it up and give it a little blow and another little blow. And then I'm going to get noisy here for a second. I know, it's crazy. Well, it's not too bad when I don't have the computer and the camera stand on it, but when I do have all of that, it's a little bit of a hot mess. Okay, so now it's going to get noisy, I'm sorry. But now we're going to see the magic of embossing. This is one of the first things. So many people, this is the thing that captures their attention. Look at the magic of embossing. Heat embossing. We've done dry embossing with the Birchwood 3D embossing folder and heat embossing with this. And you don't need to do all this and carry on. Just point it at the embossing powder until it gets shiny and white. Kind of like an Edelweiss. I feel a song coming on, but I'm going to let it go. Okay. When you are doing heat embossing, please remember that while it is still hot, it is still kind of smearable. So give it a half a second. And while it is doing its thing, I'm going to pull out my Stylish Shapes dies. And we're going to use the largest of the banner dies to cut this out. Okay, so once again, I shall return. Please do not leave. I will be right back. Okay. Try to get it straight. Now I've got that I was so gone for so long song in my head. Oh, what do I do to myself? My goodness. Okay. All right, so there we have our, a little bit crooked, but that'll be okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We'll get our card front back out, and I am going to use some double stacked dimensionals to get over the top of that bow, like that. And then just take off these little lids, the dimensional lids. There you go. poor Amy, she isn't going to know what to do. I know that her favorite would be Edelweiss because you know how she feels about show tunes, especially The Sound of Music. It is her favorite song ever. If y'all ever want to get a gift for Amy, just get her a soundtrack or a movie, a remastered movie of Sound of Music. It is her favorite thing ever. The only thing she loves more is all things Star Trek, Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxy. And you can send her any of them because she truly doesn't know the difference between any of them. Okay, so we're going to take these off. And then we'll put this little guy on, hopefully kind of straight. Like that. And you can see he kind of covers the joint between the two wreath images. And we'll just kind of straighten these little guys out. And I'm not going to trim those. I kind of like them long like that. And then we'll use some of the Earth Tone Shimmer Gems. And I'm going to add a couple of 5. I'll put one up here. I'll put a couple down here. One big and a large. And then I think I'll go with a large, like right here, and a small close by. And that is our card front, people. Isn't that pretty? I just think it's so pretty. It was pretty as a sample, the way the sample was, but I like the addition of the birch. And of course, I will never say no to a linen thread bow. I just won't, because, you know, I just love them. Okay, so let's put that aside, and then we can do our inside liner. It's very, very easy. The hardest part is being sure I orient it for a horizontal versus a vertical. Oh, did Amy say, yes, get me the movie and then a pair of ice picks? Amy is lying. She's trying to cover up the fact that she's a total Julie Andrews fangirl. She loves Julie Andrews in everything. I think she told me she watched The Princess Diaries like 12 times and was disappointed because Julie didn't sing in any of those. I tried to explain it was after Julie's throat issues, but she doesn't understand. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this single bird image. And I will, in a fit of efficiency, also do my envelope. Okay. So I think at the retreat, one of the nights we should have a Sound of Music movie night. I think that would make Amy very happy. I'm going to talk to James and see if we can work that out. I know she's going to be so excited by that. All right, so let me do, apparently I'm planning on doing my envelope now, so let me go ahead. I got myself all tickled thinking about a Sound of Music night. We'll make s'mores, and we'll just sit and we'll all sing along with the movie. Won't that be fun, Amy? Oh my goodness, that will be so fun. Yeah, I've got myself completely tickled now. Okay, here we go. Although I think maybe we're going to do some jump roping. So if you're coming to the retreat, bring your jump ropes, because I think that will be fun. We'll jump rope every evening to work off some of James's food. All right, so there's our envelope ready to go. All I'm going to do now is just adhere this to the inside. I shouldn't put it in that one. It's already got one. That would be weird. Mary Poppins. Yes, that would be so good. Oh my God, it would be like a marathon, a Julie Andrews marathon. Oh, we'll have schnitzel with noodles. I'll see if James can make that for movie night dinner. And then we'll tie up all our presents in brown paper and twine. And maybe we can find a kitten's whiskers. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to the inside of the card base with some liquid glue. And that, as they say in some industry somewhere, it is at the Crafty Elk Lodge in North Georgia, just... oh, I'm guessing like an hour north of Georgia. No, an hour north of Atlanta, up 75. So it's a very fun place. James is a wonderful, wonderful host. All right, how pretty is this? I love the serene kind of organic colors. I love the linen thread. Basically, I love this card, and I give total credit to the Stampin' Up! Designers. Thank you for the inspiration. All right, you guys, I appreciate. Nope, I'm afraid you don't have anything else to do that weekend, Amy. You're committed. I've got your check. I'm not giving it back. All right, guys, thanks so much for spending part of your weekend with me. I hope the rest of it's good, and that I will see you on Thursday. Don't forget to go sign up for that decorative trees class. We're almost to the end of the sign up period. Thanks, guys. Ta.